Hello everyone, and welcome to this pre-study session on Unlock the Power of AI Code Assistants. We will be exploring how these intelligent tools can revolutionize software development, what key use cases exist, and related limitations, as well as focus on prompt engineering and how code assistants can be used for code documentation. Important to note is that within this training, the focus is solely on standalone AI code assistants such as ChatGPT or Claude, not integrated solutions via API directly in, for example, Visual Studio Code, a coding platform/tool. First, we would like to understand, of course, what are some of the key features of such AI code assistants. And you can see the definition explanation at the top. But when looking into the key capabilities and use cases, you can see that understanding these is really essential for effectively integrating them into our development workflows and activities. And as you can see, we identified 8 key use cases to help you see their full potential and provide food for thought for your interaction with these assistants. So first up, we have code completion. This feature automatically suggests lines or blocks of code based on the current context, helping to speed up development. So for instance, imagine you're coding in Python and after typing import pandas as PD, the AI might suggest something like PD read CSV as you start typing, and therefore really predicting your next move. This feature is also very helpful in standalone GenAI applications when enough context was shared for the AI to finish off code blocks. Next, we have error detection and debugging. So AI assistants can identify syntax errors or potential bugs, therefore greatly enhancing your code quality. Third, we have code generation, which is another powerful capability. So it could produce really boilerplate code or frequently used functions, and therefore really streamlining many of the repetitive tasks. So think about generating a certain basic routes, for example, create, read, update, and delete API endpoint for a new database table, and then the AI can quickly scaffold the initial structure and saving you some significant time. Then we have the aspect of code translation, where AI code assistants are able to translate code between programming languages, which really helps the supporting interoperability in multi-language projects. And for those of you who are familiar, most companies do have quite some legacy systems, and if they're written, for example, in Java, need to integrate a new module, the AI assistant can help bridge that gap by translating relevant code snippets. Next, we have the upskilling and explanation of code and concepts. And this is all about helping developers understand complex code structures and programming concepts. So if you encounter a complex algorithm or design pattern you're familiar with, the AI can break it down, provide explanations, and offer even some examples. Then next we have code quality. And in this context, low-level unit testing, where AI assistants can assist within this testing process, helping to set up and run basic unit tests to verify code functionality and also quality of it. This can be particularly helpful for ensuring the basic functionality of newly written functions. So it provides you usually with direct feedback or feedback in general and their correctness. Then you see 2 more to go. The first one is code refactoring and tidying, which is another useful feature where the AI can help you organize and clean up code, make it more efficient and readable. And then finally, we have documentation assistant, which allows AI to generate comments or documentation sections based on code, which again can significantly improve the maintainability of what you've done. And imagine you having doc strings which are automatically generated for your Python functions, which are explaining their purpose, the parameters, return values, and so forth. We'll look also into this one further down within this short training. While very powerful, and I think the capabilities and use cases hopefully showed that pretty clearly, it's important to acknowledge and adapt to the limitations also of AI code assistants. As you can see in the bottom also here, AI code assistants are continually evolving, which is of course also a good sign because things are getting better and hopefully answering and helping you with your specific tasks. But at the end of the day, your feedback is really invaluable. As some of you might be familiar, the tools usually keep training based on the data input you give to it. And so when you are enabling the system to collect data from your side and therefore enhance the system, then it should be able to provide better service within the future. Now to the limitations that I shortly addressed before. So one key constraint is, of course, the insufficient domain and company-specific data. So models are primarily trained on public code repositories, meaning that they might miss specialized or proprietary languages and internal standards as well. So they may also lack insight into proprietary APIs, specific workflows, and also when it comes to specific industries, for example, internal safety guidelines. So there's different ways in how this can be addressed. For example, retrieval augmented generation systems. You can also, of course, do fine-tuning or parameter-efficient methods where it's getting a little bit more technical, and also leveraging knowledge graphs and metadata. Next, we have the necessity for human oversight, which is a key discussion point within any AI topics. But the AI-generated code can appear, of course, very correct, yet contain hidden bugs or security vulnerabilities. This is especially critical in safety critical contexts where rigorous validation is demanded. And solutions, again, include mandatory reviews. I'm sure some of you have heard of the 4 I's principle, and static analysis. So you utilize automated test pipelines with security scans and QA gates, and then providing developer training also as well to raise awareness of common AI code pitfalls. Last but not least, we have restricted environments, which also pose quite a challenge due to data restrictions mainly. So a lot of companies have restricted data, such as health data or sensitive government information, which cannot be shared directly with AI assistants. So solutions involve hosting either separate and secure AI environments through local model instances, for example, or you can also, of course, implement strict data controls to prevent cross-border, cross-platform data flow by having really own setups for your company. This should ensure then the end compliance with restrictions. Then I would like to spend a quick minute on effective prompt design and engineering, because to get most out of the AI code assistance is very important to understand some key principles. So the first is to write clear and specific instructions. So use delimiters like triple quotas or backtips to separate instruction from sample data. Always ask for structured output if you can. For example, please give it to me in JSON format. It's also helpful to check conditions and assumptions. An example prompt could be is the user's input within the valid range and so forth. And also another technique is few-shot prompting, where you provide 2 to 3 correct answers, question answer samples, and before asking them the final question. The second principle is to encourage the model to take time to think, and it should really encourage the model to step-by-step reason. And this could be, for instance, explain how you arrived at your conclusion in bullet points. Don't rush the answer, using phrases like let's break down the problem into smaller parts, so it can guide you through its approach. And then last but not least, we have the third principle, which is iterative prompt development. Very key. This process involves an idea, creating a prompt, observing the results, then you perform an error analysis and then refining the prompt. So for example, you might start with summarize the text. You see an overly short result, then you refine it to summarize in 3 bullet points, focusing on pros and cons, and so forth. So you adapt the structure or examples based on each iteration and might add a code snippet if the model's responses lack technical depth. It's important to remember though, and you can see that in the bottom left side, that models may produce false but plausible details known as hallucinations. I'm sure you've heard of those. For example, it might cite a non-existent research paper or function name. So to mitigate this, retrieve verified data and base your final answer on reliable sources. Also key limitation, of course, but this is where effective prompt design and engineering can address some of those pitfalls, but not all of them. Good, last but not least, as promised, a deep dive to finish off with effective documentation with AI assistants. A couple of key use cases you can see in the top. The first one is the automatic commenting. We also have the post-hoc code documentation, where you can run, for example, existing code through an AI assistant to generate missing comments. Then for external communication and documentation, you can paste code also in the AI assistant to get explanations, which is useful for creating user manuals, for example, or API documentation. Then we can also ask the AI to suggest improvements and document the reasoning behind changes during refactoring, optimization, and so forth. Then the whole translation and standardization aspect we mentioned earlier before. And last but not least, some best practice and security guidelines. So it could also identify syntax errors or potential bugs in real time. It can enhance code quality, which falls under the specific use case. Last but not least, what are some of the key benefits of AI-assisted documentation, which are numerous? I think that's clear. But first, it can lead really to improved readability, making code more understandable for all team members. This in turn also fosters better collaboration and faster onboarding for new team members who can quickly grasp code logic. It also aids in legacy code understanding, so it helps decipher old, poorly documented, obscure code bases. You can also gain consistent and complete documentation, which ensures uniform and comprehensive commenting. Then there's last but not least, the significant learning effect for juniors, as less experienced developers gain insights from AI-generated explanations and best practices. And furthermore, it assists with automated compliance and audits by helping enforce coding standards and regulatory requirements. Finally, it results in reduced technical debt, minimizing undocumented or poorly documented code, especially if you want to do some rework in the future. Thank you for your attention. We hope this short and concise training provided you with some valuable insights on effective use of AI code assistance.